Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, Priel, you ready to lead on Novavax?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so basically going through it, a couple of things stood out to me. And currently the stock is like 234. But back in May or June, they had some manufacturing issues and their stock fell drastically. I feel like it went down to 121, which is like a pretty big jump. And they had back orders on depth filters and just bioreactive bags and stuff like that. And now they say they have it under control, but they're still like kind of being sus about it because, okay, here's where the second red flag popped up for me is that they started seeking approval in all mid level countries, like, for example, like not exactly uh, the US and the UK, but more like India and other places like that, like third world countries. So then I read a report where they kind of tied up with the Serum Institute of India, which is the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world. And they have this whole contract with them now, and they're pushing for India to approve Novavax. But they still didn't file for FDA approval until very recently. So that's kind of confusing. I understand that Pfizer and Moderna like already big competitors, which would kind of like throw you off, and that's why they would aim for elsewhere. But also, this is the biggest market. Like they promised 100 million doses to the US, but 1.1 billion doses to other countries. So I don't know. That was kind of one of the other things for me. Also, in terms of like its mechanism of action, they kind of use this bacterial thing. Let me look at it. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a baculovirus, and they use a spike protein to infect like moth cells. So then these moth cells produce the COVID virus spike protein, and they use that as an injection. So it's not actually
they're just giving the spike protein as the antigen.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what
it's like a regular vaccine.
Yeah, it's a regular thing. But anyway, so that was cool. Based on that, seems fine, checks out. Also, they said that showed so far. So I don't know what puts them apart from the other two mRNA vaccines. Like, yeah.
One thing is that it doesn't have to be frozen. So it can be more easily made and transported and stored. So that's that. Yeah.
That's actually a great point. I did not know that.
There's also the point, there's also the point where a lot of people are skeptical of the mRNA vaccine, while this is a protein vaccine. And, you know, we've already been using this for a while, so I think there would be more vaccinations using this versus the mRNA where people are distrustful of it.
I was distrustful.
But I have a question, like more than 50% of the population has already been vaccinated. So
like the world population?
No, the US.
So Priel, I don't know if you saw recently, they announced that it's likely you will need to get a booster shot 8 months after.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So COVID is likely going to be equivalent to the influenza, where we're going to be getting shots every year.
Yeah.
Oh.
So okay. It's going to be something that's with us for the rest of our life,
probably.
So
yeah.
Knowing that, with the current vaccines that are out, we already know that they don't have persistent, like they don't build a persistent response. So one is having the most options available of different types. You just have more like ammunition, but this one, we don't know how long. This one is more relatively new, so we don't know what the long-lasting like immunity may be. It may be better at that long-lasting effect than the mRNA ones.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
I don't know either.
We literally just don't have enough data.
Yeah, we don't have
exactly. But we know that the mRNA ones are not working anymore.
Yeah.
Therefore, we should be trying some other stuff.
How many other types of COVID vaccines are there, right? Like
So-
J&J
How many
is not a
types?
mRNA
Yeah, so
vaccine.
not of the mRNA, but obviously there's J&J.
Yeah.
Then there's the China one, which is literally a
That's just all
plasmid
COVID.
or a vector, like, and I think they have the monkey, right? Or is that AstraZeneca? Oh, AstraZeneca has the monkey vector. Yeah.
Okay.
And China is a human vector, I think. I'm not sure, but we can look it up. But I think so far these are the options available, and obviously US isn't going to take Chinese vaccine. So, and they only proved to be like 50% efficacious or lesser maybe. They tried it out in Africa.
So, Piral, you said, are you talking about when they said they delayed? That's the recent one where they delayed, what, not even 2 weeks ago, right?
Novavax?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what was the reason for the most recent delay?
they didn't say
Manufacturing
it.
issues? Oh, they didn't say. Okay.
No, I feel like I read through some stuff, and recently they said that they did submit for FDA review, but I don't know, it's still not like gone through, or there's some setback. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, something sus. Like,
Yeah.
delaying it, like they didn't even file for it. They did all these studies where they even tested it in teenagers and children and stuff like that. But why not apply? Why not apply for approval if you have all this data? I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. I don't know. What are you guys' opinion on that?
I'm trying to think of why they wouldn't.
If you guys have any other points to add into, please let me know, because this is what I found and this is what my opinion is, but I want to hear like what you guys have to say as well.
Can we come back to the bigger discussion? Should we go? I don't know if everyone did like their own parts. I looked slightly at their sea levels. So they have, I only looked at their CEO, their R&D president, and their CMO.
Yeah, I looked at their vice president, who was like the Sanofi guy who transferred over. He was like this big dude.
So both the CEO and the R&D president kind of seem sus to me.
Okay.
So I thought that before. So this guy's been CEO at a few different companies. One of them was called Procept. I tried looking it up. I couldn't really find anything that they had made or got approved. Then he was at a company called IOMAI. So he was the CEO there for 8 years. They were developing a transdermal patch vaccine for traveler's diarrhea. And they ended up getting acquired by, which company was it? A company called Intercell, which then later merged with another company and is now called Valneva. But they never got that transdermal patch approved. So it was sold from the first company to the second, and then merged with the third, and it just disappeared over time. And it was because I found out afterwards, right in like 2009, they got a partnership with GSK to develop that. And then by 2010, the clinical data was bad. They missed their milestone. It was just over. So I don't know if the CEO has gotten any products approved before. The R&D president, all I could find about him is literally he co-founded that one company. And before that, I think he's a MD, so maybe he was just practicing. The one person I did like was their CMO, which is good for them running new clinical trials. He was deputy CMO at AstraZeneca. He worked at PATH's malaria vaccine initiative. So he like worked on 25 different vaccine candidates for malaria. So running clinical trials and all that, I'm pretty confident with him. Not as confident with the CEO and the R&D president.
What that tells me is that their MO is basically like get it to phase 2 on all their products and then try to just sell out to a big pharma player.
Yeah. But I don't think that's going to work for Novavax.
Yeah. And that might actually be why they keep delaying it, because it's like without the clinical data readout, there's still kind of that opportunity for a big player to come in for the right price, so to speak. You know what I mean?
They might not
So-
want to give the money because you have to pay to apply. They might not want to go through the filing process.
Yeah, it might be just kicking the can down the line just to try and get bought out, because it's like a huge need that everyone kind of wants right now for COVID.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. So it really comes down to like how good does their clinical data really look.
Yeah, I mean, they announced that after their booster data, there was a 4.6-fold increase in the neutralizing antibody versus all these other vaccines.
God damn.
Wait, what was that?
So they said that theirs was 4.6 times better in a nutshell than
Like
the
a higher antibody titer?
yeah, like after the booster shot.
No,
Yeah, so
have emergency use, does it?
No,
no.
Damn.
it doesn't have anything. That's how I was like,
Yeah.
look, you have all this data, you have all this supporting evidence, you even worked in children.
They
And you
might
have
not
data on
enough
that.
regulatory people on their team.
So why? What is the holdup?
Yeah, I mean, they either have really bad regulatory or they're really just holding out for a buyout.
Yeah.
What happens
So
if there's
What
a
if their
buyout?
entire strategy plan was never to actually apply, and now they're waiting for someone to buy them, so they just have to keep delaying?
no, I really think that might be a good probability.
Yeah, Eugene, you should do the check their hiring and everything. If they're hiring regulatory people.
Yeah,
Wait, but
actually.
what happens to their stock if somebody buys out Novavax?
Okay, so typically for a controlling interest, you're gonna look at maybe like a 20 to 50% premium on the current price. I don't know what their market cap is, but their only concern for me is that because it's not an mRNA vaccine, the market seems to be valuing those more because they think it can go into like gene editing, which these traditional protein vaccines really can't do. So their multiple is probably not going to be similar to Moderna, but let me just see what their value is.
I think
Yeah, so they're like $17.5 billion. So if they're gonna get bought out, we're looking at maybe like 27 billion at most, but I don't know if big pharma company wants to spend that money. Like they might already be overhyped by the market to a point where it's not worth it for big pharma to step in and purchase them. So those are just a couple thoughts. But if we think that their goal is to get bought out, we should also start to eliminate who is not going to purchase them, right? So if we understand J&J, Pfizer already have vaccines, it's unlikely that they're going to be the guys to purchase them, right? Which leaves, but GSK already has it, right? Or no?
GSK already has a COVID vaccine.
Where were they in their vaccine development? They weren't the ones that had like everyone test false positive for HIV, right? That was like Australia.
Well, we know they're not an FDA approved vaccine.
Yeah, true. Okay, so let's, for the time being, say J&J and Pfizer are out. That leaves Merck, Novartis. I don't think Roche, maybe Roche. GSK.
GSK is working with Sanofi, I think.
Okay, so that player's probably out, right? So it leaves like 3 companies maybe, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if those 3 companies actually have the capital to make that acquisition
I
at
have
like
a question.
27 bill.
So I've been reading a lot where there's a lot of emphasis on booster shots. And
Mhm.
I even read that Novavax is filing separately to the FDA for only booster shots. Do you think their whole
Mm.
plan is not to start off with the vaccine in general and just have boosters for everybody every year and become like the only one who has booster shots? I don't know how that works, but I've been like reading that they're trying to file for only booster shot approval to the FDA.
Well, they may be saying they want to be like filed for booster shots because a lot of people have already gotten theirs and they're probably like, I'm just going to continue with the one I got. But
Mhm.
if they know that this is like approved for booster shots, they're trying to like open up to be like used by people that went with something else earlier.
Yeah.
That'll be my guess.
So maybe they're not trying to get full. Maybe they're trying to get a booster shot approval, so they can be like, the monopoly that's only approved for booster shots.
But
Because
they'll
right
they'll
now
still
Pfizer
need
and Moderna
emergency
hasn't
use
been approved.
authorization, I think.
What?
They'll still need emergency use authorization overall.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Because now they're saying 8 months, and people who got it in January will probably be due in 1 or 2 months, or like December.
I got it at the end of January. Like I'm coming up.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of speculation on this, is because I'm even reading that they signed a deal with the European Union to give them like 100 million doses. So I think they're trying to aim for like things outside the US as opposed to inside. And the stock fell 7% as soon as they announced the EU deal. So I don't know what that means if they're trying to aim for countries outside the US.
What's the climate like for them? Like, if you go to India, what are your vaccination options?
Right now, it's AstraZeneca and this other Indian vaccine, and it's like the same shit, but it's just marketed under different brand names. And recently, Pfizer is seeking approval in India, because here's the thing, that's one of the biggest populations. China has its own thing because they will not allow anything else. So India is definitely the next place to go because
Yeah.
of huge
But you're
population.
not gonna. At the same time, you're not gonna make money for your product in India, right?
You will if you tie up with the Serum Institute of India, which is exactly what Novavax did. They sell to the government, and then the Serum Institute sells to all over the world.
I see.
No, because they're the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world. They
Got
manufacture
it.
70% of the world's vaccines at today.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't people go for other parts of the world? Like the US and Europe are the hardest to get approved. And like, yeah, there's a fuck ton of people in India. I don't know.
But the
The biggest
overcharge
profit
in the
margin.
US is insane. Like you can overcharge in the US by ridiculous amounts compared to the
That's true.
Yeah.
because we don't have the same pricing controls.
But I feel like what they're thinking is that, okay, all these people are already vaccinated. What's the point of going after this? Let's aim for like 100 million doses left over.
And there's reasons it's more expensive, like the regulations of like the testing and stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
you know,
manufacturing costs, if you want to manufacture here, is like huge.
Yeah.
everything is more expensive here, so the vaccine ends up more expensive. I mean, I don't know the actual like margins. Probably the profit margin is larger in the US, but
It essentially is. I'm pretty sure, like I've heard before, the US kind of pays for the other countries' discount
We do.
on medication.
mhm.
So, like they make so much off of us that they can afford the prices that the governments around the world are asking them.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I think this is really interesting, and we should probably figure out what their actual strategy is, because it will dictate like how their company does in the future. But Kabir, to jump back to your question regarding Novavax's hiring for salespeople, zero.
Oh
Zero.
shit! That's bad.
Yeah, they're not looking to sell anything.
So they're not looking for anything yet. But when do you typically start hiring salespeople? Before you file, even?
Yeah, like 6 months out, even easily. Yeah, they they aren't looking to sell this as like
They're looking to be
a
bought
product.
out.
I really think they're looking to be bought out.
I don't think. Let me see if I can.
Is it a small company?
So their market value is like $17.5 billion right now.
Okay.
So if they wanted to do like secondary offerings to raise cash, they definitely have the money to do it. I think Glassdoor says their size is like 100 to 500 employees right now. They have 134 job openings as of like the last 30 days.
I mean, they're like COVID is like a world pandemic, and so many people have it. Like,
Yeah.
it
Oh, sorry,
makes sense.
500 to 1,000 employees. But yeah, carry on.
It makes sense that not every company is going to be able to take that on. Like,
Mhm.
have they ever conducted a clinical trial?
Who?
Novavax?
Yeah,
Is-
they've done lots of clinical trials by now.
Like, they've taken a drug to FDA approval.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
They were founded in 1987, so they're not exactly like brand new.
Yeah, but have they been like selling their drugs in the past, or have they been?
Yeah, I don't think
kind
they've done
Nothing.
it before.
Nothing
They
has
haven't
got
done
approval.
anything.
Mhm.
What is this company? They haven't done anything.
Pretty much.
Yeah, actually.
I'm not sure. Maybe they like partnered drugs and stuff, and sold them off. But as far as I know,
If they've
Uh,
done nothing, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say their pipeline looks like it starts with like a SARS vaccine that went nowhere, didn't even get to phase 1. Then it was MERS, also didn't get to phase 1. Then they did Ebola, which got to phase 1, and then everything else is looking pretty recent.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't imagine that with something like huge like this, they're probably like, we fucked up so many trials already. We just should just get bought out and let someone that's done these kinds of things before do it.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
But then why would they hire a new CFO? Like,
A CFO?
no, wait, let me see.
Who did they hire?
They just hired someone, right?
their chief regulatory officers actually seems like she has a good
Oh,
background.
yeah. Novavax appoints new CFO amid delay with COVID vaccine approval.
So what would be the purpose of hiring a new CFO
They're cleaning up their balance sheets to look pretty for a buyout.
for a buyout, right? You
I think so.
hire CFO when you're ready to.
Yeah, they
Selling
hired
shit.
him yesterday.
Yeah.
You should see if he's been selling it, like if he just is like one of the CFOs who sells companies essentially.
Yeah.
He's the half man. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, he was a former BMS executive and served as CFO for BMS for 5 months.
Maybe he did acquisitions for BMS.
Did
And he
he?
has a 25-year experience in clinical stage biopharma companies.
Was he at Celgene previously?
No,
Okay, just checking.
Biogen, Supernus. I don't know what that is.
They're all small companies that got bought out, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely sounding like it's the strategy that they're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. Yeah, I'll dig into like big pharma companies, I guess, that might be able to afford buying them out. But
Yeah.
The valuation you said?
they're at $17.5 billion.
So what's a 20 to 30% premium on that?
17, 18.
Like 20.5.
Yeah, 20.5. It'll be like between 20.5 to 27 bill.
A pharma company or a company willing to put $20.5 billion in to buy this company and then
For vaccine.
still
Still
have
do the
to be
trial.
approved.
Yeah.
But didn't
Yeah.
they finish phase 3?
I don't know.
Believe so.
Clinical
They
guy.
finished phase 3, yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they did it in adults and kids. So they don't have anything left other than filing for approval.
Filing's
Yeah.
a big process.
No, I know, but what I mean is that they wouldn't have to pay for the trial again, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
True.
Um, so did you guys look into the clinical trials yet? Like, is there anything iffy in them?
No, it was pretty straightforward, the efficacy and everything. Mansoor, if you have any thoughts.
I looked into one of them using the alpha COVID. They say that there is, I think, 94% efficacy. It's on the New England Journal of Medicine. Let me double check. I think it's 96.4% against non-alpha variant, and then it's 86.3% efficacy or efficacious against that alpha variant. But there's nothing on the lambda or the nothing on the delta plus, and lambda. And I've been looking online about anything regarding the lambda variant. There's nothing. A lot of the vaccines are not efficacious against the lambda variant anyways. So I think it's about 50%. So yeah, once that actually starts coming to the US, we'll
Where's the
Yeah,
lambda
trouble.
variant from?
South America.
Peru.
Okay.
And right now I'm looking into the stock change and the price fluctuations. Most of what I'm seeing, every fluctuation is due to its quarterly earnings, financial results. And
Yeah,
every
because they
single
keep
time
saying they're gonna push it back.
yeah, and every single time there's that massive pitfall. So I think if we are going to say this drug looks good and whatnot, we really need to advise them that there's going to be this quarterly financial reports where there's going to be massive volatility on those days. So I was looking at, I think it was August 5th, and the other one is on May 10th. So yeah.
I mean, as good as the drug might look, like the clinical data, the company itself seems like it's 1987 never produced a drug, right?
Yeah.
So unless they're just licensing out, like I know they say they have like some special nanotech formulation for their vaccines and stuff. If they're licensing that out, maybe that's how they're staying afloat. But it might be too much of a clusterfuck of a company to get something approved.
And does their vaccine have, or is anyone using their vaccine in different countries at the moment, or no?
Novavax?
No, I don't think it's being used.
I don't think they have anything.
No.
Yeah, because
Just
I'm
a
looking
trial.
at, it says, which vaccine has the greatest global reach? And of course, it's AstraZeneca with 174 different countries or territories, then Pfizer and so on. And I don't see Novavax on here. So they're already going to have to compete with people that's already in the market. So I don't know if it's going to be even worth it for them in this sense, because once they start launch, they're going to be competing with people that's already been established. And if AstraZeneca is already at 174, they're most likely not going to be able to compete with the prices that they're going to be giving to other countries because they're at such a large production value. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean I think the only option is what you said, Kriel, the company they've partnered with, the manufacturer in India.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's like their maybe saving grace is like they literally like, okay, clearly we don't know how to properly manufacture stuff. Let's give it to somebody who can, and then just manage the rest.
They said that they had all this manufacturing power and capacity, and then they couldn't follow through. And that's when the huge dip happened. And then they reported all these setbacks and delays with like, they couldn't find depth filters and bioreactive bags and stuff like that. Okay.
I think the biggest thing is what Eugene said, that they have no sales positions for hire. If you're not like planning to get it approved anytime soon, or like if you were planning to get it approved, you would be hiring people to sell it.
Yeah.
I think that's like a very key thing.
I think
they said that they're
No, I said that I think that's a huge tell, but go ahead.
Yeah.
They're applying for emergency use in the US.
I mean, that's what every vaccine's going to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like-
I don't even know what that means.
Emergency.
They're only like a year late.
Yeah.
Emergency use is not like FDA approved. They can use it, but it's not FDA approved.
It's not like
Oh,
fully approved, right?
Exactly. There has been like clinical trials that show that there is efficacy and safety, but it hasn't gone through the rigor of other drugs, which
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
basically what it is.
You'll see
It's-
similarly for like cancer. So like when we did Keytruda, usually what they do is they get accelerated approval, and then within a year or two, they get all of the clinical data to get full approval. And so they get accelerated because usually they're in like phase 1 or phase 2, like early phase 2, but it's cancer. So they're like, get it, like we need to get it to patients. Same thing for a pandemic. They're like,
mhm.
accelerate or emergency use, just like give it to people. It looks safe enough. We'll verify if it's safe later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe Eugene, kind of like you were saying today, like race to the bottom. Like it is more easily made and distributed and stored. So maybe they're just trying to like go for kind of, and its efficacy has been shown. So maybe they're just going for like we can pump out like so much of this, and it like if you live in India, the fact that it has to be frozen is like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like
Mm.
it's hot as fuck, and they don't always have that kind of shit
Lightweight.
available.
Yeah.
Actually, not having to freeze it is a huge selling point for anyone currently having to administer the vaccine, right?
Mhm.
Because they're going
Yeah.
to have to continuously buy as well. So I think it is a huge differentiator and a huge plus if it's shown to have the same efficacy as everything that comes before it,
Mhm.
I
right?
guess.
Because then the like CVS or whoever is giving your shot doesn't have to like destroy the vaccine,
Yep.
the mRNA, and then buy a new one. So it's a huge cost saver actually as well. Could be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, to kind of like summarize everything and have all the options that we put out here right now, there
Mhm.
would be like option A, which would be that they have all these plus points where you don't need to be frozen. It can be given just like that at room temperature. They also partner with Serum Institute. They're trying to have somebody buy them. That's option A. Option B would be they get screwed, nobody buys them. Now they're like, okay, we need some help manufacturing. They didn't hire anybody in the sales department. So what are they going to do? Is their stock going to fall? Or option C would be that they're trying to file for the booster approval, but they would still have to go through the emergency approval. And I don't know, that's just kind of a question mark option. And even if they do have somebody buy them out, how would that affect the stock? And how would that affect how much profit is made off? And how would that affect our readers?
Mhm.
Like, we ourselves don't know which option they could go for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Could be. How much does it cost to file for the marketing with the FDA?
The PDUFA cost,
Yeah.
a few million, I think.
Okay. I mean, they have $500 million in cash right now. So they could easily afford this, although
Yeah,
most
it
of
says
their
3
revenue is. I'm sorry?
3 million just for PDUFA, but like to build it all, also probably throw in a lot more money.
Okay. So I mean, it looks like most of their cash came from grants. But yeah, I definitely think they can afford to file for PDUFA if they really wanted.
Yeah, like the
It's
weird.
just a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Yeah, it's whether or not they're building their regulatory submission or not.
Mhm.
Are they? I guess instead of sales, are they hiring regulatory people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have what looks like a legitimate chief regulatory officer. But if they don't have someone underneath them, they're either going to have to hire a contract regulatory company to do all that filing for them, or just not do it, I guess. Or they have to hire, but I don't know if they're hiring.
They've started hiring for regulatory, I think, at least a month ago. Is what it looks like, and then a couple other job openings more recently. So I think they're starting to kind of hedge their bets in case they don't get a buyout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At their current stock price, I think a buyout's going to be less likely. But it's just been climbing so much.
It's climbing for a relatively low value pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very pricey for a very low value pipeline, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that kind of works against them, or brings up doubts. Like, I guess like what Priyal was kind of going for is like either they're gonna get bought out, which what happens to the stock if they get bought out? Like, what actually happens to their stock if it gets bought out? Is the company like dissolved and like you have some pseudo stock of their parent company, or like it just keeps going?
Yeah. So it depends on how the deal is. You're usually either going to get like a stock swap in which there will be some sort of conversion for the parent company, or it will be like cash or some combination of the two.
It also depends on the market cap. That's the other thing too. So if the other company has a larger market cap, the stock of that one might actually go even higher. So just like what he said, it depends. It really just depends on how it goes and which kind of companies.
Also, I don't know, I'm hungry.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a very
me
good
too.
meeting, honestly. But yeah, I think we can kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
Any last thoughts, Briel, since you're leading?
What?
Any last thoughts as the leader?
No, I think this was a great discussion and we summed it up, but I feel like what we should take away and think from this discussion would be which option would they go for and how would that affect us and our readers in general.
Yeah.
And I feel like we should reach a joint consensus on that, is because we cannot be like super divided, because also they could take either option or none of the options, to be very fair with you. And this would kind of mess with our credibility.
Yeah. We don't want to be on opposite poles.
Yeah, we don't want strong judgment calls.
Yeah, they didn't do the phase 3 trial just to like twiddle their thumbs, though. They're going to do something. They're going to sell it, or they're going to go through with it. And if they sell it, we should figure out what happens to stocks that get sold, or when companies get bought out, what happens to their stock. And also, if we think that they're going to go through with it, do we trust them as being a company capable of accomplishing it? Probably not, given that they've never been successful.
Yeah.
So
no, but I feel like you have a wonder drug, a super blockbuster drug in your hands. How dumb do you have to be to fuck that shit up? Like, literally, you got to be dumb as shit. And if you can just hire somebody to do that work for you, that's still fine. You have $500 million in your hand right now. You could hire people, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a possibility, but
okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's wrap it up. Let's recap later. I think maybe I'll kind of jot down the potential strategies that they might take, as well as what might happen to stock prices for each scenario, and then we'll go from there.
Okay,
sounds good.
Maybe we can
Perfect.
next week and kind of go about what we looked at, what we found out, and what we think individually, and then as a group together.
You don't want to start with the table already and just write like our really polarizing statements? I think we go for it. ASAP, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, let's do it.
Like, let's do that.
I think it would be a very good format. It would be very appealing to me.
Okay. I like that idea though. The table is cool.
It's good.
Based on this discussion, and I don't know how we can recap it for Brandon, but this makes you, I feel like I have to go look for some more information, just like whether or not, like, why the fuck are they such a mess getting this? Why so many delays? Will they actually be approved? Like the clinical trial data looked really good. Why is it not moving faster?
Sounds good.
it might end up being something like the stock will drop for a long time, and then finally a turning point for the company will happen.
I think what might happen is if no one bites now, the stock drops to a point where it's actually cheap enough for someone to acquire.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay.
everyone continue to look for that.
Yep,
So-
sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Good
Thanks,
discussion.
guys. See you later.
See you.
I'll see
Bye.
you guys.